Good afternoon, my name's Dan Wymer. Nearly 20 years ago I joined Stewart Milne Timber Systems as a design technician. I've worked through commercial, production and IT teams over the years and now head up our kind of continuous improvement team with champions across the business. For the AIMCH project, I took the lead from a Stewart Milne point of view in all of the packages that Stuart's just described.
Good afternoon, my name is Bruce Raffell. I'm the Commercial Director at Forster Roofing. Part of the Forster Group, and now in our 33rd year of business. We're Scotland's largest integrated roofing and solar PV contractor, covering approximately 1 in 5 main roofs throughout Scotland. We're an SME group of companies with a staff of around 100, and we predominantly work in the new build housing market. Innovation's always been at the heart of what we do at Forsters, and in 2017 we developed a concept around an advanced roof tiling system, which from initial pilot studies we believe we can reduce site installation times by up to a third. Other benefits include some key health and safety benefits, where we believe we can remove the complete removal of silica dust from site into a controlled factory conditions. Our solution is going to take us into the world of manufacturing, which is a completely new area for us, but we do believe we can revolutionise the entire roof tiling industry. We're the only SME within the AIMCH collaboration, and we've been working with the partners over the last 3 years, which we'll tell you a little bit more about in this afternoon's presentation.
Good afternoon, I'm Seb Giudice. I'm from the Manufacturing Technology Centre. We are the RTO on the project, along with CSIC, which means we're thankfully 100% funded from Innovate. And I'm the manufacturing MTC's lead, so we've had a variety of resources deployed across most of the work packages, if you like, supporting and enabling the teams. The MTC is a 900 strong business. Most of those are engineers. We turn over something in the order of 100 million in R&D projects, and at any moment in time we could have about 800 projects going per year. So we're getting fairly large. We're part of the HVMC, the Catapult, and there are other Catapult centres around the UK. AMRC is one of the other ones that you might have heard of, WMG, AFRC up in Scotland. So there's quite a few of us. And I say we've been helping the partners really deploy what we call novel or close to market technologies, so bringing them up to speed with other manufacturers. So just as a means of introduction, what the guys are going to talk about. Stuart's talked about close to market technologies, and that's what we've really focused on in this project, is taking something that's been deployed in other industries such as aerospace and defence, and we're trying to put it into this new construction environment. So you'll hear a lot about ERP systems, and that's where we've helped the likes of Stewart Milne and Forsters down select, choose and then integrate those into their businesses. We've developed new scenario planning tools, new factory design tools as well, and we've then started to venture into the sort of more risky technologies where we've developed algorithms that change how some of the groups are operating as well in terms of their business models. We'll talk about automation, and we'll touch upon how we've developed new machines, and then at the end we've got what we call Gaffer Dazzler, which is the augmented reality, which is one of the applications that we've developed, which actually turned out to be really useful for the Forsters Group. What we're doing, what we've done is, we've taken these new technologies, but they're not things that are going to sit on the shelf. These are things that are going to be used, they're going to be put into practice. So all of the partners are investing their own funds and their own capital into taking this into market. So what we're doing as the MTC is really holding their hand through that industrialisation phase, meeting with the third-party suppliers who are going to warrant and service this equipment and these solutions, and making sure it sticks. Final note on terms of innovation. When we started this, I think MTC's really, it's got its roots really in aerospace and defence, those sorts of high-value manufacturing industries. And back 3 years ago, I think AIMCH was probably one of the first big construction projects we had, just after the CIH. And so I think we've had a slightly different approach to approaching innovation. We've come at it from a systems engineering approach, de-risking every step. And what the construction guys wanted, because they're driven by sort of operational demands, is really fast fail. Can we build something, test it, and does it work? And we've gone through that with various degrees of success. The wearables technology that we talked about earlier, the RFID one, was one of the examples. It just didn't work. You know, we tried everything, we threw everything at it, it just didn't work. But there have been other successes that have worked. So that has actually been one of the main learning points for the MTC now, is how we approach these types of partners who are more operationally focused. It's short sprints, fast fails, and give it a go. So yeah, that's the sort of running order of things. I'm going to pass over to Dan first, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Thanks, Seb. So from a digital business system point of view, we went through a 4-stage journey. The first stage being digital discovery. What actually is out there in the market, existing today, that we could tap into, as well as what are our drivers as a business? What do we need to achieve our strategy? Into the second stage, establishing requirements. So at a very high level, we're talking about a project and a plot story that our businesses work on these plots that then live through their life cycle, through that build, that we needed to be able to say, right, how does that work? At a lower level, it was actually a little bit of soul searching and really a bit of honesty to say, what are we doing? And it really was that question. Carol at the MTC couldn't believe some of the stuff that over the years we've ended up, these processes that have grown arms and legs, things like spreadsheets around every corner. Why were we doing what we're doing, and do we need to do it that way? Can we simplify things? Once you've got a handle on that, we're then looking at identifying vendors. Now, this was an overwhelming array of systems and vendors out there in the market, some incredibly experienced in manufacturing, some incredibly experienced in construction, but actually coming at it from a subcontractor's point of view, where we need to be dealing with manufacturing, but also with that construction sector, and especially the house building sector. Actually, were there any systems there that we could grab onto and use straight away? And actually, there's still slim pickings. You've got very, very strong manufacturing systems that say, oh, well, we've kind of got a third party that we could probably bring on. And again, the construction systems seem to be heavily swayed towards civil engineering and sort of big projects, whereas we need something, especially from a subcontractor point of view, to be able to slice that up and just join the dots nice and neatly. And then it was about evaluation and selection. And this is not just about functionality, but I say it's about fit. It was really important that we started to discuss with these vendors about what our style of business was, what we wanted to achieve, and whether we could work with them. You're not just buying something off the shelf, plugging it in and away you go. This is a long process. It's the down selection itself was months long. The implementation of the project that's happening right now is a year long. And we want that relationship to continue in the future. We want to develop these systems as the business changes as well. So it's as much about that fit between your organisation and the vendor as the functionality that they're providing. So I think that was from our point of view, but Bruce, from your point of view as an SME?
Yeah, from an SME point of perspective, we followed exactly the same journey, and it allowed us to take a real deep dive into our, take a real deep dive into our processes, start to finish, day to day, from top level of our organisation right down to the grassroots level of our teams. We are a business that's currently run with a massive spreadsheets and standalone software that nothing really speaks to each other whatsoever. Moving to manufacturing, as I said, our innovation project has taken us to. We've been forced into looking at this area of our business, and it's been enlightening. I would encourage all businesses to go through that process. We ended up with a list of 200 improvements straight away, some of which we've been able to implement already, and we're going to be focused on implementing the rest of the improvements by the end of the year. It's a time-consuming process, mapping it out end to end. We actually had two stabs at it. We realised we weren't detailed enough at the very first attempt, and we went through a second attempt after that. We asked exactly the same questions as what Dan was saying. Why are we doing things that way? Usually met with the answer of, that's how we've always done it. Why are we inputting the same information 6 times? We can put it in once and then let it flow through our system. As I said, we primarily work in the new build housing industry. and we focused on that plot-specific journey that Dan spoke about there, from initial tender stage when we win the project, to system setup, to plot completion on site, and then to final payment from our clients. That flow end to end. We're currently in discussions now with ERP vendors. We're slightly behind Stewart, Milne where they are, but we are speaking to some, and we hope to have one signed up in the next couple of months to actually take and implement our full system end to end. We believe what we will create will be unique to subcontractors like ourselves and our size. There's a well-known software out there that house builders use that seem to be designed purely for house builders to run their construction sites. I think we can provide something and create something here for the subcontractors that operate on those sites, working through those plot journeys. I'll now hand back to Dan to take us through the future factory.
So with ERP helping to take care of day-to-day business, we also within the project wanted to look at ways that we could help shape future investment. Personally, our previous experience of simulation and modelling at Stewart Milne was that it was complicated, expensive, and actually not very flexible. So we wanted to say, could we build something that we can then grab hold of, use in different scenarios without having to invest lots of money or lots of expertise? So the combination of perspectives with MTC bringing experience and best practice of modelling and simulation, and us bringing the challenges of MMC and our ambitions, we actually ended up with a fantastically sophisticated Excel sheet. Now, I consider myself a fairly upper-end user of Excel and was astounded what Steve and his team at the MTC was able to do. So yes, there's all the number crunching that you'd expect from a spreadsheet, but they also built tabs that enable you to start laying out a factory in Excel. So Excel was drawing a factory for us using the data that was in the spreadsheet. The simplicity of the tool was just fantastic, and it meant we didn't have to have any specialist experience. You just dive straight in. We could model everything, so we could look at a particular workstation and we could set it up to model that. We could look at the whole factory. We could actually model an existing process. We could look at a future process, and we didn't limit ourselves within the factory walls. The eyebrows were raised with Steve and his team when I said, yeah, but I want to be able to plan the yard as well and what's going on, because that's as important to us as the factory itself. And we're like, oh no, we don't do stuff outside this. The factory is what we model. It was like, well, why not? And so we actually push that challenge to them to say, well, why not allow that tool to go further? So it's been absolutely fantastic for us. It's helped to really galvanise our thinking about what the factories are. Taking it beyond that Excel tool, we looked at discrete event simulation. There were limited value for us in it because you needed a lot more experience to actually make the use of it. Steve did some magic that we can suck the data straight out of the Excel and straight into the DES model. So some of the setup was taken care, but actually understanding what you're seeing and what's actually happening in the simulation was probably just a bit beyond where we needed to be, and almost that the Excel tool was so good that it was doing enough to get us to the next stage. We did take the findings and actually put it to an architect, and then what we'll see is a fly-through that of an advanced hub. So Stewart talked about hub and spoke earlier, where you've got larger factories and then you've got pop-up factories. So everything is being developed off of the data from the Excel model to create these sort of almost modular factory designs, and we'll see the advanced hub with a representation of some of the equipment that we've also looked at through the robotics and automation part of the project.
Yep. So again, from the SME perspective, in the development of our advanced roof tiling system, we are going to become manufacturers for the very first time, something that would be completely new to us. So we currently have a distribution centre in central Scotland. It's too small. It's been too small for a lot of years, and we've always been looking to relocate our premises. Combining the manufacturing element now with the distribution centre, we were able to work through the digital Excel model and actually scope out our requirements that we needed. The model was absolutely invaluable. It forced us to ask the questions that we didn't even know we had to ask, as not ever been involved in manufacturing. It took you through stage by stage, and we ended up with a 2D factory layout, and we had the ability to tweak data at any point as we became more informed of what we actually required while working with the MTC team. We were quickly able to establish that we require a 20,000 square foot factory, with the logistics of outside yard space, deliveries in and out. We're already engaging on the back of the work done with the Excel model with commercial property agents, and we hope to relocate that factory by the summer of this year, in preparation for our very first prototype manufacturing cell, which we've also placed our first order for, which will be arriving late summer. So I'll now hand back to Dan to go through.
Yeah, just jump out, hopefully. So I'll give you a bit of a tour. So this is an advanced hub built off the back of the data that came out of that Excel sheet. So this is representing a factory that can produce 5,000 units. And what we've done is actually we've modelled a flow through the factory with a one-way system around, raw material entering the factory at one end, and then moving through the manufacture process to then push the finished goods out at the other end. So over the years, and Stewart will share the pain of trying to get the output levels out of traditional production line equipment that we'd had in our Witney factory has been a massive challenge. Product variability has had a big impact on that. What we see here is an approach of a cellular approach, but with a combination of operators being assisted by the equipment and also automation. So the gantry here is actually picking, placing, gluing and fixing the boarding onto the floor cassettes. But it's not all about automation and robotics. We still have cells where we believe the right thing to do is to have a manual operator doing what they do best. But as we move up to the top end of the factory now, we're about to see the most advanced wall panel production line, as far as we're aware, in existence. So there's a combination of robotics, of automation, and of operator-assisted activity. So starting off at the top here, operators starting to bake the carcasses with the help of a robotic arm to position products, and it then moves down the line into its first fully automated robotic cell. The robots here pick the sheathing material, place it, fix it, trim it, cut it, before releasing the panel into a transfer station that also allows manual intervention for the awkward bits. We've got an automated insulation bridge pumping glass fibre into the panel before it goes to be closed with another robotic cell. And finally, we have a third station where the windows are picked, positioned and placed by a single robot arm, and then mixing it back with some more traditional automated gantry equipment to stack those panels. So regardless of whether those panels were open panel, closed panel, whether they're structural or non-structural, that line can cope, and at a pace we want to. Like Stewart alluded to earlier, the pace of production of our advanced panels is so slow now because there's a lot of manual intervention. That line enables us to produce closed panel practically at the same rates as we produce open panel. So suddenly the amount of units that we can push out on the advanced panel makes a massive difference. So on the outside, I already alluded, we've been able to use the modelling tool to say, right, how much space do we need for material recycling? How much space do we need for finished goods? Even down to the loading bays, the number of trucks, everything can be interlinked to say, well, if you're making 5,000 units, then this is how much volume of finished goods storage you need, by product as well. So the Excel tool, the flexibility, and Bruce, you said this, is the flexibility to go and go, oh, hang on a minute, I want to tweak that, has really helped to inform us and build this this fly-through, ultimately, the fly-through, it's not just a pretty picture. It's helped us validate the design ideas that we thought we had. It's helped us validate the outcomes of the Excel, but it's also helped us influence investment decisions. And it's stuff that we're actually progressing now with a factory in planning and orders for equipment that have been placed.
The good thing about the animation, it makes it all worthwhile, you know, because that was quite a painful experience, wasn't it? Every Wednesday, usually me and Dan talking to Steve, trying to tell him what we wanted, and him going away and creating it. And we have got a quite unique tool there that, well, we're still using it. I'll talk about that towards the end. Onto automation, if you like. Now, both parties, if not all of them, have been involved in some form of automation journey. And just to reiterate, this hasn't been a science project. This isn't automation for automation's sake. Everything we've deployed is going to, or everything we developed is going to go into practice. The way we've gone about it for the Forster Group, if you like, is when we started the journey, we started talking about what we could automate and what we couldn't. It just got bigger and bigger, didn't it? We wanted to automate everything at one stage. We had several machines being designed, and what we essentially do is go through a bit of a journey. We give Forsters a series of concepts, and we show them what the best vision of that fully automated system could be, you know, fully lights out, autonomous system. And then we scale it back and we say, well, you can go for a semi-automated, robot-assisted, or you can go for a fully manual one. And that's when we go back to the business case and say, is this going to stack up? And that's when we start to weigh up the risks. And if the risks are too high, we say, well, let's start right at the bottom here, where they've got that says manual and automated. Sorry, you can't see it on there. Machine, yeah. So what we've done with the Forster's case is we've brought it right back to this, and we're going to prove the business case. So that's where Forster's and Bruce is going away to engage and integrate, and we're working with them to build that machine, if you like. Once that business case has been validated, we'll then go along the automation journey. But we've provided them designs, outline designs really, to get all the way up here. Every single concept that we've created is a trade-off between viability, cost and benefit. And benefit's not just, is it a financial benefit, but it's also, is it safe? Is it going to make it quicker, lower your lead times and those sorts of things. So that's where we are at the moment. It's going well, I hope. It's the bit I'm most nervous about, because it's the point where Forster stopped being a contractor and become a manufacturer, and that's why I'm not an entrepreneur, because I'm quite quite nervous at this stage. But we're going to support you guys and hopefully get you in a few years all the way up here. So I now pass on to the favourite bit, which is the augmented reality.
Yep, so the augmented reality then. So as I said, innovation is always lay at the heart of what we do at Forster's. I get that back on. There we go. So innovation has always been at the heart of what we do at Forster's, and augmented reality has always been a future vision of ours. In the main area of our innovation, it was identified that this use of this technology would be crucial in identifying products that need to be placed in certain places on that roof. Some additional funding became available within the project, and we were able to actually prove the concept within the AIMCH. We worked closely with MTC. One of the very key breakthroughs right at the very start was that I think when you think of augmented reality, you might think of visors, head-mounted devices. From a feasibility study, it came out that the smartphone that we all have in our pockets right now was the most efficient piece of hardware to use that we could implement immediately. So before we go any further, I'm just going to play a short video of the project, and I'm going to hand to Seb to discuss the creation of the application that MTC worked through.
Yeah, just touch upon the hardware, because when people think of augmented reality, immediately think of the HoloLens or the Trimble headset. We explored all of these. We looked at headsets. We had 2, I think, in our down selection. I won't go into the brands. But then we also looked at what we could get from tablet devices. So we did look at conventional tablets and sort of like iPads. But at the time, iPhone brought out their latest one. I think it was iPhone 12, was it? 12. And this sort of changed our view on how this could go, because they had a LiDAR built in the back of the phone, and that means you can capture proper 3D information rather than just capturing an image and then interpreting what the 3D information is from that. So when we put that all into our down selection and we did some trials, we found the headsets that everyone talks about, you can't actually see, they're not very good on outdoor environments. So when you project an image onto the roof and you've got sunlight on there, you can't see your image anyway. So, but the phone goes back to what we were trying to say. This is not a gimmick. This works, and we can put it into every single operative. It can have access to that digital information now. So a headset's probably going to cost us in the range of £3,000. An iPhone, we're probably talking about £500. So it's just more accessible, and it works a lot better. From a safety perspective, because I think that was the main concern when we tackled this idea with Barrett's. They were really worried about the safety of it, putting a headset. And yeah, that does disorient people. It traps your field of view, if you like. And whereas the phone, once you've got it out, you put it away, you carry on with your work. So that's why we've gone with the phone. And it's proven to be quite a useful tool to add other bits of information on as well, isn't it?
Yep.
So it's you can keep adding to it really, whereas the headset is very limited. So that's why we've gone down that sort of route. So I think, yeah.
Just a question on that. So, in order for that to work, do you need some sort of code thing?
QR code. So each roof will have a QR code. The phone takes a picture of the QR code. That loads up all of the information that's needed. The user has to scale the virtual image onto the real roof, so it locks onto some features on the roof, and then you've got all the information in the right place. But yeah, we do need a QR code on it, but that we can print it off standard printers. It's not a big deal.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
So from our experience of being a subcontractor in the construction industry, we can see firsthand where things can go wrong. A key area of that is usually communication between head office and our site-based operatives. Things change a lot on a construction site. Specifications, colour changes, route of builds, planning conditions, etc., etc. And making sure these changes get to the site in a timely fashion can be challenging for an SME as ourselves. You can have different squads going into the same plot. You've got 3 squads on the same plot at times. You've got to make sure they know exactly the information of how we are to fit that roof, because there's different fixing specifications for fixing tiles. Their PV layouts will change all the time. You need to know and be able to be up to date as quickly as possible exactly what you're doing on that roof. AR can clearly help with this. If our operatives can be on the top lift of a scaffold, pulling out the phone out of their pocket, into the application, find the site, find the house builder first, find the site, then go for the plot number, and can actually be able to visually project onto the roof what they're to do, right down to fixing specifications, solar PV panel design, vents. You see the red on the top diagram there, vents, which have been, vents are always a bane of our life at Forsters, because the numbers are usually never correct, and they have to move them from time to time. So once we get that right, we want them fitted in the right position all the time. Our current operatives have had a chance to use it, albeit on the roof rig from the video that you've seen, and the feedback's been really positive. They can see the benefits they think it could bring. Even some of our older generation tradesmen, quite interestingly, who are maybe a little bit less susceptible to change, could certainly see what benefits it could bring. It can undoubtedly improve quality and productivity, but also as an enhanced training tool. For our up-and-coming trainees, we can certainly use it with them to actually train them within our skills academy up in Beacon. Since the release of the video, we've had a lot of contact, especially from subcontractors like ourselves, looking to see how they may benefit from this technology moving forwards. And I think some of the project partners as well have been able to get a view on how it could impact their businesses. I think Dan, you were quite keen to.
I think it's exciting that it's opened my eyes to what's possible. And there are lots of site-based checks that we do as a timber frame installer. The fire cavity barriers, for one, is absolutely critical that we know where they go. That it just reduces, like you say, it reduces the number of errors, the number of mistakes that can be made. If actually that information can be projected on a screen as you're looking, and immediately you're getting a visual check as, is this right or wrong? And then even on to follow-on trades. There's a lot of times we get callbacks to say, oh, someone's cut through this lintel or someone's cut through here. Actually, if we could provide that sort of information of avoid here, cut here, nail there, actually, why wouldn't you do it so that the guys can see, oh, right, that's what I need to do. So there's lots of knock-ons that I think this really has opened my eyes to what's really possible.
Yeah. It's a proof of concept just now, but we are already speaking to a digital platform and app specialist who's going to look to industrialise this when creating our future platform for our main area of our innovation. So just to finish up the impacts and next steps, from our perspective as the SME in this project's been transformational for us. We've gained access to and work alongside partners with skills and technology that we didn't know was possible. We're already in advanced discussions with ERP vendors, which we hope to sign off in by the end of this month. We're speaking to a software developer to develop the AR, but also develop our platform that our roof tilers can use on site, go into their phone and application, they can sit and then be integrated with our future ERP system. We've placed the order for our first manufacturing cell, prototype cell, for delivery late summer, and as I said, we're seeking new premises as we speak, all on the back of the work that's been carried out in this project. As I said, we believe we can revolutionise the entire roof tiling industry, not only providing a platform for ourselves, but one that our clients, house builder clients, can use along with other roofing contractors in the future as well. And I'll hand over to Dan.
And from a Stewart, Milne, now Donaldson Timber Systems point of view, we've got a factory design going through planning in Scotland as we speak on the basis of the modelling that we did and the future factory design that we built as part of the project. It also gives us the flexibility to dot some smaller hub factories as and where we require. So again, when there's a demand, let's get the factory local. We've got the factory equipment is on order for the first lot of both the floor cassette and the wall panel equipment, which hopefully the first batch of that comes in 2 or 3 months' time to the Witney factory to replace some of the old kit before we then commission the robotics in Witney and then move them up to the Scottish factories as well. And I am pleased to be here today because it gave me a day out of the ERP implementation project that is still full bore, but I am pleased to say that our first module is due to go live this month. I can say this month now, we're in March. So we're going to then start seeing the fruits of our labour from an ERP point of view. And all of those investment decisions have been validated by the work that we've done as a team through the AIMCH to rubber stamp that we are making the right decisions and we're moving ourselves and the industry forward. So to say, from our point of view, it's real, tangible things have happened. It's not been a theoretical project. It's making a difference.
Yeah, just a final remark from an exploitation perspective. The factory design tools that we've developed, one for Sam and Mike here, is that we talked about taking technology from aerospace and defence industries and using it in construction. Well, that tool that we've developed is actually a case of us developing something in construction, and the MTC is now using it in other sectors. So we're going to use it on the...
Shout about that. That's a good story.
So we're using it on the CIH, so Steve's already implemented CIH, but we are using it on other sectors, and some of those sectors we can't talk about. So, but they are being used in those high-value sectors, and it's being developed. It's not been left on the shelf, so it's going to become more integrated as a tool. So you'll be able to click, drop, and drag items in there and develop models quicker and faster. So yeah, it's a good news story for construction for once, and sort of getting one up on them. And then finally, really for the MTC, in terms of what we've got out of it, is real exposure and experience to the construction industry. It's been really beneficial to our team to do it, and we only have to mention the AIMCH project and just point customers and clients to the website, and you know, they come and speak to us about new projects. So it's been a real eye-opener for us, and good experience, I think. So I think that concludes the presentation.
Right, yeah, glorious stuff to scale up the solution. So any questions on the manufacturing side when the team's here? And have you got anything at all?
Sorry, it's always me.
Absolutely, Sam.
Just, you mentioned the sort of pop-up factories or spoke factories, or whatever you want to call them. Can you just say a little bit more about those? Just something about those, because it's all been about the hub.
Yeah, so it's been about the shiny stuff. But yeah, so the idea about the spoke would be a smaller, probably less automated factory, so that you less capital outlay to begin with, that you can then site close to where the demand is, which obviously helps from a distribution point of view, but also hopefully helps with the local employment as well. That you can then, the kit that you are putting in, you can then lift down and go and put in the next factory that you decide.
So is this, at the moment, hypothetical, or you've actually done it?
No. It's hypothetical. Our first port of call is a new hub,
Yeah.
up in the central belt of Scotland, but this is where we don't need a hub. Every time we want to increase capacity, we don't need to put an all singing, all dancing factory out there. We can actually put these local, small, more agile factories in for a period of time to satisfy demand, and then
I think what we are seeing, I mean, it's very topical on the levelling up agenda.
Sure.
Because obviously if a demand in the south, you could be manufacturing in the north and shipping it down. So I think there has been some discussions where there are some volume potential opportunities for the type of systems we've got that could be manually done. So in the northwest, and there's some in Hertfordshire as well that, you know, they've been speaking to, trying to sort of look at the government procurement sort of aspects and maybe Homes England's aspects and things like that to say, well, actually, you've got a solution here, you've kind of got off-the-shelf deployable at pace with confidence, a solution that can create local jobs using manual techniques. If there's a labour pool there we can draw from, we can upskill and get them going quite quickly. You don't need the big shining £8.5 million automated line, but for that high output, volume, lower cost, advanced MMC system, that's kind of where you need to get to. But in the short term, you can also deploy these pop-up sort of factories. So I think in terms of the outlook for sales point of view, there are larger opportunities popping up. I mean, I got a phone call yesterday from the government of Jersey, I think it was. Yeah, it was Jersey. 2,000 units, talking about MMC, heard at AIMCH, want to build a pop-up factory in Jersey. We're the kiddies, you know, this sort of style. Or saying, have you got something? Yeah, we've got a solution, we've got the systems, we can put it there. If you've got a local labour force, you can do that there. You know, because you don't need to put a £10 million factory into Jersey because, you know, there's just not that volume to cope, but you might do it for 2 or 3 years to get you through some volume. So, you know, those things are popping up from that, so as an example.
That's great.
Okay, one more. Ed, yeah?
So, quite technical one, on the robotics and the choices that you had available, both in the automated kind of panel line, but also, so I saw you kind of brand up and look at robots there, but in America I see a lot of ABB, in Japan it's Mitsubishi. Why is that the right choice for you guys?
we've partnered with Randec for a long time. So again, as our kind of technology partner, it made sense to kind of push them through the ringer. The same as I did with Steve on the simulation is actually, we really challenged them. They weren't used to actually us asking for the levels of output that we wanted, but they were willing, because of that relationship, they were willing to actually work with us and say, okay, let's have a different think about this. So there are a couple of things that they're looking at for us that we've prompted that, because we're saying, we need more. And actually they're quite used to, there's always a manual step in the process, which then slows it down, so you don't need the equipment to go, whereas actually we want all of those stations to be whipping through. So for us, Randec was the right partner, just that relationship was already there. And yes, I think they get their robots from KUKA. So
I think the robotic arm is quite a stock item. It's not actually that's the easy bit. It's the end effector that goes on the end of the robotic arm that is the literally clever bit that allows you to do all the operations you want to do. And that could, although it's developed, that end effector is developed with Randek in Sweden. There is local people in the UK like Loop Technology who could develop that sort of robotic technology as well. But in terms of equipment to make panelised systems on a worldwide basis, pretty much it's either Wymer in Germany or it's Randek in Sweden. There's not that much more. Maybe there's an opportunity for the UK manufacturing to develop technology if there's an investment for people who want to do that.
And it's the integration. It's not a fully robotic line. There are some more traditional mechanical parts to those work centres on that line. So Randek brought all of those experiences with one partner, so that you're not then having something fall through the gap when someone goes, oh no, that's not in our package, that's in someone else's. They can provide a whole solution for us.
Well, we've always said it's the world's fastest line, so when a housing minister wants to come and look at a factory, fire him up to Whitney to look in front of that machine, and he'll be there with a photograph rather than going to Ilka Homes. But anyway, that's a way to go.